Honorable Sir.
Fellow citizens, the People's Court is now in session. As your judge, forum advocate, I welcome you to this episode of the People's Court. The focus is a great philosophical saying by Abraham Lincoln, 1809 to 1865, and I quote, "Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves, and under God they cannot long enjoy peace," unquote. The People's Court is a reform platform for the purpose of giving voice to the poor, women, and those denied freedom, equality, and justice in our communities. This is our People's Court, a community-growing citizen forum for enhancing Nigerian democratic culture in an open society by popular participation of the common people in the promotion of due process, arbitration, and the rule of law. People's Court will reduce the culture of impunity, abuse of human rights, and corruption through the active participation of the people. Movers Nigeria believe that the citizens' constant complaints are the cheapest price the people pay for all the freedom, comfort, and security we enjoy. Our association, Movers Nigeria, is urging every Nigerian to have faith in democracy, because democracy is embedded in rule of law, due process, and justice for all. Without justice, democracy will not be attractive. Our families and institutions are on the decline due to our culture of impunity and lack of justice for the poor. You must understand the fact that the strength of your oppressor is proportional to your weakness in resisting him or her. You now have a free access to justice in the People's Court, where the people will be the jury. So, if you are oppressed by our big man syndrome, institutions, or government agencies, take the matter to the People's Court and let your voice be heard before your rights are buried. The costlies in today's proceeding, I have with me in the seat as a forum judge, a common Nigerian, an ordinary person who has been a participant in this program. We selected him because of his interests and loyalty to the program. And now I want to introduce the common Nigeria today, selected as a forum judge, who is not a lawyer, and he has no other distinguishing credential other than his integrity and belief in justice. The forum judge today, which any of you can be, is a man coming from Uzuwani, and in Iwolo to be precise. We selected him and wrote him, and he came. I am humble to present to you the forum judge, EKWUEME Magnus Sunday. And I will use this privilege to ask him to make his opening remark. May it please you, Mr. Forum Judge.
Thank you, my forum judge. Injustice and impunity abound in our society today because the good ones have decided to fold their hands and watch the few bad eggs take over proceedings in politics, community rulership, and even in our churches. Should the good ones unite their resources together, that is their integrity, and other natural endowments from God, the few unrefined ones disturbing our society, we know that they don't have any other alternative than to repent and help in rebuilding our society. So, to me, joining Movers Nigeria and honoring this invitation is like a dream come true to participate in reclaiming our society for the good of humanity. Thank you, my forum judge.
With the greatest respect to the forum judge, we thank you for your opening statement. Fellow citizens, we are now moving to course list 1. The course list 1 is the general public petition on good governance. I urge every citizen to try as much as possible before Friday every week to send in a critical issue that agitates your mind on how we can make our community better, or issues that need for the public to know concerning the general good of our society. This morning, permit me that we have 2 questions in public petition sent in by Movers Nigeria. Question number 1, which is now open for the jury, which is these listeners in this program, to critically analyze and participate, as follows. Question number 1. Having regards to the community reading of section 13 and 14 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, whether the National Assembly can rightly, pursuant to a bill passed, formulate a new constitution for Nigerian citizens? That is the first question. I will take it again. Having regard to the community reading of section 13 and 14 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, whether the National Assembly can rightly, pursuant to a bill passed, formulate a new constitution for Nigerian citizens. The second and final question that came in by way of petition by the same Movers Nigeria is, do you support the bill proposed by the National Assembly giving right of life pension for their principal officers? For example, the Senate President and the Deputy, the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. I take the question again. Second question says, do you support the bill proposed by the National Assembly giving right of life pension for their principal officers, e.g., Senate President and Deputy, Speaker and Deputy? These are the 2 current questions that came in by way of petition. Is already in the People's Court Facebook page and in my blog, Ifeanyi Chukwu in Human Rights on Facebook. Distinguished citizens, we need to know where you stand on these 2 issues. I will now place this matter before the forum judge for his comment before we now call on the citizens who will make the final decision on this matter before we proceed further. Forum judge, sir.
Thank you. First of all, let us look into what is constitution. A constitution is a system of laws which formally states people's rights and duties, which are fundamental. Therefore, it needs wider consultation and inputs from public, civil societies, professional bodies, etc. On the other hand, bills involve fewer elected honorable members of National Assembly, as against popular participation required in constitution making. Therefore, collection of bills passed should never formulate new constitution for Nigerian citizens. National Assembly is not a warehouse for manufacturing of constitution. Rather, they should consult and involve people as far as constitution making is concerned, so that it will involve popular participation, and with time it will not fed up because of people did not identify with it. That is my stand on that.
On the first question?
Yes.
What's your stand on the second question?
So, on the second question, my honorable advocate, honestly speaking, the remuneration and allowances of the principal officers of the National Assembly is more than enough for them, their children, and even their children's children. Too much of accumulation and wealth gives room for mediocrity. For the sake of their children to value merits and maintain their family destiny or dynasty, they should avoid too much wealth. In all, as honorable members, they should also teach us how to be honorable by sacrificing self-gratification. Then prosperity will pay them. Example, Mandela in South Africa. When he was a president, he never went for what will favor him as he retires. But now, he is now in hospital, but the whole world is clamoring for his good. It's not what he made in the office that is making him this by gratification, that is making the whole world to be clamoring for his well-being. But the goodwill, the sacrifice he paid in for the service of his land. So if our honorable members should focus on what they should do for Nigeria and not what they will get from Nigeria, even when they retire, the people will take care of them. Thank you.
That is the verdict for the forum advocate on the two issues presented. Before the presenter will open the lines for the jury, as the advocate in this forum, I will seek your permission to refer you to the fundamental law of Nigerian Constitution, precisely in section 13 and 14 respectively, the relevant sections therein, because that will help you to make up your mind for those of you who do not have your constitution nearby. Section 13 reads thus, and I quote, "It shall be the duty and responsibility of all organs of government and all authorities and persons exercising legislative, executive, or judicial powers to conform to, observe, and apply the provisions of this chapter of the Constitution." Unquote. I read it again. "It shall be the duty and responsibility of all organs of government and of all authorities and persons exercising executive, legislative, or judicial powers to conform to, observe, and apply the provisions of this chapter of this Constitution." Unquote. Section 14, sub 1. And I read, "The Federal Republic of Nigeria shall be a state based on the principles of democracy and social justice." Subsection 2 of 14 stated thus, "It is hereby accordingly declared that a sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government through this Constitution derives all its powers and authority. The security and welfare of the people shall be the principal purpose of government." Sub C, "The participation by the people in their government shall be ensured in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution." Unquote. Distinguished citizens, of particular importance is the provisions of this Constitution as captured in section sub 2 A, B, and C of the Constitution. I want to remind you that section sub 2 sub A of the Constitution says that the sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government through this Constitution derives all its powers and authority. The participation by the people in their government shall be ensured in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution. Distinguished citizens, the question that has been sent in by petition by Movers Nigeria is whether the National Assembly can rightly, pursuant to a bill formulate a new constitution for Nigerians, considering the provisions in section 13 and 14 of the Constitution. The National Assembly of Nigeria, through the Senate, has just passed a bill that they will make and donate to Nigerians a new constitution. I feel that this is a constitutional breach, and they have now decided to undermine democracy and the rule of law and the constitution they swore to protect. And I do not know what else. That this is a very serious crime against the state. This question is question number one. The next question is that the National Assemblies have now, through the Senate, passed a bill that they will give their principal officers life pension. As a former advocate, I say no. Citizens, this is the end of part 2 for interactions and text messages. I now open the vista for the hearing of claims in this court. The only claim we have in today's session is a claim made by a petitioner that never supplied us the address of the defendant. So that petition is not ripe for hearing. But for purposes that we have not suppressed your petition, we will not now come and bring it to the forum, and then the forum judge and the people will hear the petition, and maybe if the petitioner is not satisfied, he will now come and furnish us with the correct address of the defendant so that we can contact him. We give 14 days. The next edition will have plenty of petitions that will mature by the next edition. But for this purpose, we only have to now give you the facts of this case, where the petitioner did not give us the address of the person he or she is claiming against. The claim or the case, this is case number 9 that is now right for hearing today, because there is no fixed address of the defendant. So we cannot really give a fair judgment in this matter by the people. But I must present it to the people rather than continue keeping the petition, and the petitioner will feel that we have not acted on it. The claimant is Mrs. NNEKA Ogu. Wherever she is, she will know that this petition has now been pronounced, and he is talking against or petitioning against Mr. and Mrs. SIMEON OGBODO. The petitioner did not give the address, but he complained and wrote and just dumped it in our office through a courier. The facts of the claim is thus. My name is Mrs. NNEKA Ogu, a widow. My husband died in a ghastly motor accident in June 2011, and since then life has been very difficult for me and my 7 children. Because of the hardship, I gave my daughter Chisom Ogu, who is 8 years old, to Mr. and Mrs. Ogbodo as a house help and to help me train her in school. On 25th day of May, being Saturday, a car dropped my daughter in front of our yard and zoomed off. She came in with serious bruises all over her body. I was shocked and I asked her who dropped her. She said it was her madam, that she said she should go and die in her mother's house. I asked her what she did. She said their neighbor gave her biscuit. I doubted it because of the degree of bruises. I took her back to Mr. and Mrs. Ogbodo, this address he never gave, in New Haven. The woman, on seeing me, started shouting if I had come to fight her in her house. I said no, that I only came to find out what my daughter did that caused this type of beating. She said I should never cross-examine her, that I should ask my daughter if they have been starving her. If not, why should she collect something from her enemy? I asked her if my daughter have done such before, or before the beating. She asked me to leave her house, that I don't have such right to question her. I cried and left with my daughter. 2 days later, she became seriously sick, that only God saved her life. I borrowed money to pay for her treatment and hospital bill. The claim against Mr. and Mrs. SIMEON OGBODO, which no address was sent to us so that we can hear their own part of the story, is thus: that Mr. and Mrs. OGBODO should refund me the money I borrowed for my daughter's treatment, which is 3,500 naira. That is all we could make out of this petition. But I have been restrained by my duty as an advocate that instead of waiting and writing back to the complainant, NNEKA Ogu, who just gave us that she lives in New Heaven without giving us even her home particulars, I will pass this case to the forum judge for his comment before the jury, which is the public, will now entertain it so that we can round up. That is the only case that is ripe for hearing in today's session. My forum judge, sir,
Thank you.
Your verdict on this matter.
Thank you, my advocate. If you look in this case, the child of 8 years, to me, is too young to even know who is her madam's enemy. Number one. Number two, for somebody to give you her child means that that person trusted you, that you will take good care of her. But in this case now, the madam has breached the trust placed on her by the mother of the child. And secondly, I think child molestation in this country is an offense liable and punishable by law. This Mr. and Mrs. OGBODO, with what we have at hand now, has molested the child of 8 years who is too tender. So to me, it's not even question of paying 3,500, but the Mr. and Mrs. OGBODO should be charged for molesting a child, and then whatever is the medical bill should be added on it for them to pay back. Thank you, my advocate.
The forum judge, this court must also be guided by the claim before us. This is not a technical court, but the people's court. She asked for 3,500 naira, and the forum judge has added that we need to make a complaint to people who are responsible for protection of the right of the child.
Okay.
And I will leave that up to the jury.
Okay. All right. The people out there, you represent the jury, and if you have a comment, of course you should have a comment. The number to call is 0815-960-9134, 0815-243-7346. Tell us exactly what you think about this situation and what should be done. Hello.
Verdict for today's proceedings. The two issues on the public table that was presented for comments, 14 people supported question number 1.
Okay.
That the National Assembly have no powers to now arrogate to themselves donating a new constitution for us. They voted and said no, that they cannot do that. 2 people supported them.
Okay.
That they can, since we are still in transition in a democracy, that they can go on. And the second question, 14 people voted that the National Assembly have no power to make themselves life pensioners. Only one person said yes, that they are qualified to make such. The verdict of the People's Court for today's deliberation is in overwhelming no for the two questions presented to the public, and that is the judgment of the People's Court. Citizens, the presentation of our supporting item for those who are able to make calls to promote democracy by their committed listenership to this program. The radio will go to the gentlemen that have made themselves to be very visible in today's program. And those gentlemen, the person that made the most contribution in this program is Reverend Okechukwu Obioha.
Okay.
And he is getting a radio. Okay. That radio will be collected at the office of Movers Nigeria from Monday morning. If you cannot come, you can delegate a writing to anybody that can come on your behalf. And the person we are giving a radio for his wonderful contribution in the 2 editions are Mr. Laz that comes from Auchi.
Okay.
He has consistently contributed immensely in this program. He is a positive thinker and a Democrat. He is also getting a radio.
Okay.
And our dear friend Weke Ifeanyi, who is also a runner-up and has consistently demanded that for his past contribution that you get a radio, we are also donating a radio to you. So we are giving away 3 radios at this special outing. So gentlemen and ladies, this is a special presentation. You can collect this radio by delegation of your person in writing, so that we can deliver it. We don't want to expend more money sending it to you by courier, so that we are an organization run by friends, so we want to minimize our overhead. So these radios are in our office. You can collect them. You can give a person a note and sign it, so that give your telephone number and sign your signal, because we will identify you by the telephone number you used to call us, so that we call you and you can collect those things. This distinguished gentleman, Reverend Okechukwu Obioha, for flying colors, he won his own merit. He is the most active contributor in this People's Court session today. And Laz, calling from Auchi, and the distinguished Ifeanyi, you have your radios, and congratulations.
Thank you.
The People's Court shall now rise. So the presenter, you can now close the session.
All right, thank you, and thank you for joining us for another beautiful episode of the People's Court. People's Court is a radio program that comes to you every Saturday 9 to 11 a.m. You can visit our website www.moversnigeria.com. Okay, you can also go to Facebook and drop your comment. If you drop it today, we will read it next Saturday. People's Court 247. Send us an email, peoplescourt@moversnigeria.org. And don't forget, if you're around the coal city, to visit the office at number 1 Ogojo Street, off Nikki Lake Road, by Content Oil and Gas Limited, White House Bus Stop, Transekuli. Thank you for joining us, and see you next Saturday.
Please enter your password.
Yes, you're on the radio now, and we have to deliver.
Come down. follow me.
Get ready to have fun.
The greatest thing since sliced bread.
Said shorty got
Point 'em out, let's go.
100.9.
Oh man,
we rock.